Okay. I'd like to call to order the Historic Preservation Board meeting for March 2nd, 2021. First item up would be roll call. Mr. Simmons?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Michael Hill said he wouldn't be able to make it this evening. Elizabeth Hawk?
Here.
Nicole Nesberg?
Here.
Elizabeth Hausauer?
Here.
Danielle Massey? Kyra Lucas? Michelle Hazen, I think she's going to attend virtually. I just got an email from her. Bill Warner?
Here.
Jay Reeves?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simmons. I would remind everybody to make sure you're speaking clearly into the mic so that people online can hear us, like we had to deal with last time. Next item up would be adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion? Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Yes.
we'd like to recommend that the information item from the Gainesville Community Redevelopment Agency, which in your agenda is at the back of the agenda. We would ask that it be moved forward under board business so that the presentations can be made at the beginning of the meeting.
Okay.
Accepted.
Okay, Bill, you made a motion. And
Accept the change.
you accept the change.
agenda.
Do we have a second?
Second. Nicole?
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carries unanimously. Okay, the announcement, Mr. Simmons.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Section 30-3.5 of the Land Development Code establishes the Historic Preservation Board, including its composition and duties and authority. The Historic Preservation Board procedures are set forth in Section 30-4.28G of the Land Development Code. Appeals of Historic Preservation Board decisions are to the hearing officer and must be filed within 30 calendar days of the effective date of the board decision at issue. The appeal procedure is specified in Section 30-3.58C of the Land Development Code.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simmons. Next item up would be approval of the minutes for February 8th, 2021. 2021.
Okay, move to approve.
Second. Nicole?
Okay, that's Bill and Nicole seconding. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Minutes are done. Brings us to board business, where we're going to have our presentation. Mr. Simmons?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a presentation from the Gainesville Community Redevelopment Agency concerning the Welcome Back program, which they will explain. And the program is, I guess it will be impacting some of the historic districts. So they would like to inform the board of what's proposed with this program. I don't believe it's been adopted as of yet, and get some feedback about what you've seen. We have two staff members that are here to present the information.
Good evening, everyone. Sarah Vidal. I'm the director of the Gainesville Community Reinvestment Area. It's nice to see you all this evening. I see a lot of familiar faces, and especially working from home, it's really nice to see and be seen. So thank you for the opportunity for us to present tonight. We've been through some exciting changes, and I think the board will be excited about some of the programs that we're trying to move forward. Next slide. So just to kind of bring some folks up to speed who may not know of kind of our history of past projects that we've worked on. This is just kind of a collage of some homes that we've built. Of course, the Depot building rehabilitation, we were partners with the Cotton Club in the restoration of that building. The Aquin Jones home, the Bethel Station downtown on the plaza. And one of my favorite stories is actually on that middle road, the one to the far right. That house was vacant and in the ownership of the city, and actually had really bad bug problems that were permeating into the neighborhood in Pleasant Street around 4th and 4th. And we actually had someone who was interested in renovating that himself, and we were able to dispose of it through the city commission and sell that piece to a builder. And he really renovated that thing beautifully, and we're so happy that it's still standing. So we've had a lot of really fun opportunities, not only those types of deals, but I think in the bottom right on the bottom row, you'll see the old Primrose, and that received a facade grant. So we were happy to participate in buildings like that as well. Next slide. So we've been through a lot of changes for those of you who've known us for a long time. Basically, we are now a city department, and that was after a long negotiation with the city and the county about the future of the Gainesville Community Redevelopment Agency. So we're no longer a separate agency. We're a city department with a set budget, annual budget, that's a contribution from the city and a contribution from the county. So we no longer receive our revenue as tax increment. It's just a set amount for a 10-year period. So we went through a bunch of community engagement around taking 4 discrete districts, morphing them into a single district. The thing that we've really learned over the past decade is that, number one, we were able to do huge projects in College Park, University Heights, because that area brought in over 55% of our revenue, and we cannot take revenue from one district and invest it in another. So the 2 districts that suffered the most, really from the way that they were drawn originally, were 5th Avenue, Pleasant Street, and East Side. East Side was the largest district, but brought in the smallest amount of revenue. And so just doing really impactful projects in the East Side was difficult in the old model. And we would have never seen the growth that we'd seen in downtown and College Park in East Side with the life that was left on that district. So just kind of wanted to explain that, because really that was the main reason for the change, is really how can we reposition ourselves so that we can invest in the areas that need it the most. And so Chelsea will get into a little bit of the planning that we went through, but I wanted to show you the roadmap, because this is everything that we're working on for the life that's left on the GCRA. Boils down to 3 objectives: economic development, community enhancements and housing, and public space and streetscape. And so you can see the arrow is that it's over community enhancements and housing. And this is the area where a lot of our programs to try to impact priority neighborhoods in the district live. And so we've been doing a lot of work the past year with COVID, not only responding and being part of Gainesville Cares. So we were part of giving out small business grants over last year, in addition to the grants offered by the city outside of the district, but also working on revising any existing programs to the GCRA as a separate entity in a city department. And then we use the opportunity to kind of rewrite some of the older programs to try to minimize some of the issues that we had with ease of use and other little intangible problems, and just kind of streamline the programs moving forward. But a huge piece of what we've been doing is focusing on housing, affordable housing, and then within that, the importance of stabilization and preserving not only the culture of the neighborhood, but the architecture, the history, all of that. And so we do it in different ways. And we've learned over the years that when you layer programs with projects, that the two together and layering incentives around it can really help build a certain area. And so moving forward to the next slide, I just wanted to introduce Chelsea Bakaitis, then I'll come back at the end to kind of wrap things up. But Chelsea's been with us for almost 2 years, and her first big assignment was helping us with community engagement and planning around the plan consolidation, which was a huge part of the end of 2019 and the beginning of 2020. So I'm going to turn it over to her, and then I'll come back at the end to kind of wrap things up. Thanks.
Hey, thank you, Ms. Vidal. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Is the speaker working?
Yes, it is.
Oh, it is? Okay. Okay. Someone had, okay. Thank you, Sarah, for introducing me. I'm very excited to come here in front of the Historic Preservation Board today, just to meet you guys and also talk about our efforts and our plan and our forthcoming programs that might tie into the homes in the historic districts. So our reinvestment plan engagement happened last fiscal year, starting in October 2019. And we started by engaging each neighborhood specifically. We went to a lot of crime watch meetings, neighborhood association meetings. We also had a meeting in each of our former districts. And so we moved through the process. We got the plan out in March, and then we had to submit it digitally to the city and county commission on March 31st. We had over 245 individual community participants. So those are people, there was no, it's like total that we had show up throughout the whole process over 6 months. And that was over, we worked with our advisory board. We have a 15-member advisory board that represents the residents and stakeholders throughout our district. We had 5 of those meetings. And then we also put out several different surveys throughout the process and had 234 total survey responses. So after we did all that community engagement, we came up with maps pertaining to the objectives that Sarah had introduced. And these maps directly relate to what we found out during engagement. So we found out that the community is really looking for community enhancement and housing projects that directly benefit the community by maintaining the culture and population of an area. And the neighborhoods they want us to focus the most on is the Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street neighborhoods, the Porters neighborhood, Hartwood neighborhood, Duval neighborhood, and the Historic Heritage Trail came up as a huge project they want to see, the community wants to see completed as part of community enhancements. The next one is our priority corridors. These are the corridors that the community wanted us to focus most on. Projects along these corridors should have aesthetic and other intrinsic qualities that result from the mix of uses and overall architectural character of the buildings that make up any particular place. And so we are hoping at the end of this to also receive feedback from you of what type of improvements you might like to see, maybe some of our historic commercial buildings along these corridors as well. Now I'll move in and start talking about the housing programs, housing and other programs we're creating. We're creating a kind of a suite of programs we want to improve the community. The first program was presented by the City Commission, and that is the heirs property program. It was originally known as the All in the Family program, but we changed the title. And this program will provide legal services for people to clear the title of the property so they can obtain full property rights. All neighborhoods within the GCRE district, again, this is this is the GCRA district area. All neighborhoods within these districts will be eligible for the program. But I do want to note that most of the heirs properties within our district are located within the Pleasant Street, Fifth Avenue, Spring Hill, Porters, and Duval neighborhoods. In fact, these neighborhoods make up a quarter of all the heirs property within the city of Gainesville. So it's a pretty big chunk. So we're working right now on getting a solicitation together for legal services. The next program, and the reason I put a star by it is because it's already been approved. We're moving forward to implement it. We're going to be providing pressure wash and painting services in the Fifth Avenue, Pleasant Street, Porters, Sugar Hill, Spring Hill, and the greater Duval neighborhoods. We're going to be implementing this project in phases. So we'll start in the Duval neighborhood, paint a group of houses, and then move on to the Fifth Avenue, paint a group of houses, Pleasant Street, paint a group of houses. And the houses we choose to paint will be selected by whoever applies to have their house painted under the program if they're eligible. The next program, I know this is the program we were asked to come and speak with you today about, was the Welcome Back program. We've altered the name to be the My Neighborhood Grant Program. And this program would offer $25,000 to past or current residents of certain neighborhoods who've lived there for at least 3 years. We're looking to provide the grant to people to purchase, build, or renovate a home in historic Black neighborhoods. And the historic Black neighborhoods in the GCRA district that we will provide funding to include the Cedar Grove, 2 neighborhood, Duval, Fifth Avenue, North Lincoln Heights, Pleasant Street, Porters, Spring Hill, and Sugar Hill. We're going to be bringing this program to our advisory board on March 16th, so just in a couple of weeks. And then hopefully by April, we can bring it to the City Commission for final approval, and we can begin implementing it later this spring or early summer. The Business Improvement Grant Program, the reason it has an orange star by it is because this is an economic development program. And it's also currently being implemented. This program offers grants along the target corridors I had shown on the previous slide right here. I do want to note, just for your information, that buildings that have a historic designation can receive up to $150,000 match grant under the program. Non-historic buildings can receive up to a $50,000 matching grant. Now I'm going to move in and talk about some proposed programs that we're working on. We have not gotten City Commission approval yet on them. That's why they're still in the proposed process. So the first is that we want to partner with the Community Weatherization Coalition and provide them funding to make energy tune-ups and upgrades to houses within the GCRA district. The second one, which would be great to get your feedback on today, is a potential residential preservation grant. This program will provide a matching grant to make structural improvements to resolve code violations. This program was an old program that the Office of Sustainable Development had tried to get going, I think back in 2014. Maybe someone from planning can talk a little bit more about that. But we hope to be able to pick it up and move it forward for the residents in our district. The hope would be to offer $15,000. And again, this would be a partnership with the Office of Sustainable Development to prioritize homes that have code violations, specifically historic homes that have code violations that need help. So the last program I'm going to talk with you about is 2 infill housing projects in the Pleasant Street and Porters neighborhood. Currently, we own 2 lots in both of these neighborhoods, and we're going to start moving into phase 2. Phase 1, we've already collected some concept drawings, but phase 2, we're going to take these concept drawings and maybe make some new concept drawings and do more intense community engagement with the Pleasant Street neighborhood and the Porters neighborhood. We want to build a consensus also around what what would be affordable for these neighborhoods and what the community and the people living there would like to see pertaining to affordable housing on these lots. We're thinking maybe cottages or something maybe for senior housing. And of course, we would want the new structures to match the historic style of those neighborhoods. All right, so I am done talking about our programs. Thank you so much for letting me come and talk with you guys today. I'll be available for questions, but I'm gonna leave the closing up to Ms. Vidal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chelsea. That was a pretty high level overview of the programs that are approved and available and then the ones in the works. So we hope that's helpful to kind of create context at how we're trying to reach the neighborhoods within the district. I wanted to share that over just the time that I've been with the CRA, one thing that's been consistently difficult and hard to engage with are the major historic commercial buildings in town, and just understanding kind of the best way to support rehabilitation of those buildings. And so in that vein, when we had a chance to rewrite the business improvement grant, we made, of course, that upper threshold of $150,000 matching grant for any historic commercial building. And so that was kind of one way that we were hoping to try to kind of, what am I looking for? Sorry, it's the end of the day. To try to just kind of start making an impact in that area. But we're definitely open to your feedback on all of our programs, and especially the ones that are still in the works, if you have any ideas for how to make sure that this is really impactful and begins to meet the needs of the neighborhoods. I feel like you all have unique insight into this area, and I just wanted to say thank you for letting us come and present. And Chelsea and myself are both here for any questions that you have. Thanks again.
Okay, I want to thank you. And board comment?
My question is, could we get, this is a lot of obviously very well put together information. I'd like to know if we as board members would have an opportunity to get a PDF of what we just saw.
Yes, I'll send that to Jason and he can send it to you. Thank you.
Okay.
And is this available online? So if people are interested in these programs, people we could refer, people living in these neighborhoods, is that how we would refer them, or would we refer them directly to you?
So you could refer them on the website. Actually, it has a link to the project manager for each program. Our website is GNV-SPAN.com, but they can also just call the main number as well if they prefer. It's 352-393-8200. Naisha Pierre is our staff assistant, and we're all still working remotely, but she can, definitely put you in touch with the right person. Chelsea's over most of the housing related programs, and then Daniel Blumberg is over the business improvement grant.
Okay.
When are these programs coming before the commission for final approval? Did you say one of them was up in March?
So I think the second page, we don't have them agendaed yet because they're still in development. But what we have to do first is go through our advisory board. So our advisory board meets the third Tuesday of every month, except for April. In April, we're having a joint city commission DCRA board meeting, and I believe it's April 1st or 7th now, I can't remember. But we can forward those dates to Jason to share with you all. And our agenda posts typically a week before the meeting itself. So on the second Tuesday of the month, usually that evening, our agenda posts. So if there's anything you're specifically being, interested in being notified about, just let us know. Send us your information and we can notify you.
Okay, there are definitely some great aspects of these programs. I really like the one for the code violations. I think that would be a great way to get ahead of these issues before they snowball and we have code enforcement showing up saying they're tearing down homes. So I really appreciate the work you all are doing.
You.
Yep. Great stuff, and glad to see you bringing it forward to us. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay.
Okay, anybody else? Okay. Thank you both. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll follow up with information. Again, thank you for your time.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Simmons, under board business, also see about renewal of membership.
Yes, it's that time of year. The Florida Trust for Historic Preservation. The memberships are due, and we typically bring it to your attention so that you can vote to continue membership or not.
I move to continue our relationship with the Florida Trust for Historic Preservation.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, you have your answer.
Mr. Chairman, who was the seconder?
Liz.
Liz?
Alzauer.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And if you're ready, that brings us to old business.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Okay, first item under old business, Register number 200-788, petition HP-21-3, Doug Nesbitt, Atlantic Design and Construction, agent for Paul S. and Laura J. Richards, owners, certificate of appropriateness to construct a detached guest house, an accessory dwelling unit, located at 206 Northeast 7th Street. This building will be a non-contributing structure to the Northeast Residential Historic District. And I have a couple of new slides to show you from the PowerPoint presentation from last month, showing an updated location of the proposed guest house. So I will be sharing my screen. So can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so last month when this came forward, it was a detached guest house, approximately 498 square feet of conditioned area, located at 206 Northeast 7th Street, right across from the school board headquarters. The zoning designation is urban 2. You saw the pictures of the contributing structure, which is an existing single-family dwelling built in 1913. And you saw the previous elevations, and of course back then, the petitioners were requesting a modification of the north setback from 5 feet to 2 feet, basically. And we also had to notify the neighbor next door because of that request for the modification. And the neighbor came before you and expressed his opposition to what was being proposed. So we had a revised site plan also at that meeting, which shifted the building slightly towards the existing building, but it still would have required a modification to that side setback. Now we have submitted a new site plan. You see the hatched area in this location, and this location would not require any sort of modification to the existing setbacks. They would meet the 5-foot side setback here on the north, and they would also meet the 10-foot rear setback here in the back. And then we have elevations which are generally the same, I believe, as you saw before, but you have this detail here on the left indicating the proximity of the proposed guest house to the existing contributing structure. So because of that, there is no request for a setback modification. And because of that, a couple of our conditions went away, particularly the condition about having no windows on the back of the accessory dwelling unit. So staff is recommending approval of HP 21-3 with the following conditions: that the parties still explore the placement of a fence to provide a barrier between the properties in the location of the accessory dwelling unit, and notify staff of any changes during construction. The applicant's agents are on this Zoom call, and I believe they also want to give you a brief presentation about the changes that have been proposed. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have at this time.
Okay. All right, Mr. Nesbitt?
Hi, how are you today? Doug Nesbitt with Atlantic Design. I'm here on behalf of the petitioner Laura Richards. I'm not sure that we have anything further to show you, but we do have, we are available here to show you this in 3D if you want to see it on the designer screen. We'd have to share that with you, but we can do that if you need to see anything, or if you have any questions, I'm here to answer any questions. We haven't certainly changed things too much from the last time you saw this. Had to rearrange the floor plan a little bit and move things around and reduce square footages here and there, but we got it to fit in inside the setbacks, and we were still able to keep it far enough away from the house to satisfy building code in terms of fire distances. So I think we've satisfied everything we talked about from the last time around, but I'm here to answer any questions, or if you have any comments, happy to talk that through.
Okay, thank you. Any questions of the board?
Nice revised plan. Thanks for taking the advice and switching things around. Appreciate it.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay.
Okay. Is there any public comment?
Mr. Chair, there is no public comment at this time.
Okay. Seeing none, is there any motion?
I make a motion that we approve HP 21-3.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
right now I can't see who
That
made
would
the
be-
motions, please.
Nicole made the, okay, right.
Nicole
made it,
and Liz Hawk
Liz
seconded.
Hawk,
But-
made the second.
I actually have a question of Jason, I guess. When we're approving this, what we have written in front of us is all the old information. So it would imply that we're approving the setbacks. So where is the actual written revised agenda item that doesn't request the setbacks, because that's not what we have in front of us.
So approval of the revised presentation?
Right, we don't have any revised documentation, so when we say we're approving this,
It looks like we're approving.
it looks like we're approving the original one. So is there an answer to that, Jason?
I guess you could make in your motion, you're approving the accessory dwelling unit by that meets the existing setbacks.
Yep.
Without any modification.
That'll work.
Yeah,
All right, motion to approve the revised plan with no change to the setback
Second.
Or no reduction in the setback.
and no reduction in the setback?
Okay. And you second?
Second.
We're good. You want to do a roll call, Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Danielle Massey,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hausauer,
aye.
Nicole Nesberg,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hawk,
Aye.
Bill Warner,
Aye.
Michelle Hazen,
Aye.
Jay Reeves.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay. All right. I think that concludes this business then.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Mr. Chairman, the next item under old business is petition HP-21-4, Kim Popejoy, owner, certificate of appropriateness to re-roof an existing single-family dwelling with a metal roof located at 300 Northeast 13th Avenue. This building is a non-contributing structure to the Northeast Residential Historic District. I have not been able to get a hold of Mr. Popejoy by phone, and I haven't gotten any response to emails the last couple of days, so I'm not sure if he's on this call or not, because I don't have any updated information at this time about this item.
Okay, is he online by any chance? Don't hear any.
I'm sorry, the gentleman you were looking for, Mr. Chair?
Kim Popejoy?
No, at this time, we have one caller, but it is not Kim Popejoy.
Okay, thank you.
Hi, Mr. Chair, this is Elizabeth in the Planning Division.
Yes.
I have one person in the attendee role, and I'm not sure what item they are here for. Their name is Dottie Faisby.
No, it wouldn't be that one.
I don't think it's.
No. No.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right, thank you. All right, Mr. Simmons, since he is not here for this item, I guess we have to continue again.
Move to continue.
Second.
Okay, that's Bill and Elizabeth Hausauer.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay,
I think you can probably just vote.
okay, we'll go ahead and
Yes.
just vote. All those in favor of the continuance?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Done. And I believe that's new business next, Mr. Simmons.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, just one moment. Okay, the item under new business, the first item under new business, register number 200-894, petition HP-21-13, Tidewater Properties LLC owners, certificate of appropriateness to construct a single-family dwelling located at 427 Northwest Second Street. This building will be a non-contributing structure to the Pleasant Street Historic District. And can you see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay.
Here we go.
Okay, can you see this?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So petition HP-21-13 involves a COA for the new construction of a single-family dwelling at 427 Northwest 2nd Street. The project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling. This property is located within a recently approved minor subdivision. The house would be about 1,110 square feet of living area, and it will be a non-contributing structure in the Pleasant Street Historic District. The property location, you see the house highlighted in yellow here. It's across the street from the Friendship Baptist Church, just north of the intersection of Northwest 4th Place and Northwest 2nd Street. The land is approximately 0.07 acres in land area, and the zoning is one of the city's transect zones, the DT or downtown zoning district. This is an old street view of the property in question with the notification sign. These are some of the views around the property. At the top here is the view looking south down Northwest 2nd Street. At the bottom here is looking north up Northwest 2nd Street. And you see a view generally across the street from the property at the Friendship Baptist Church. Again, here's the minor subdivision and boundary survey. The star indicates the property in question. Now, this is the site plan of the property showing the proposed house location. You see the parking for the subject property would be in the back off a little alley that's been built between the property here and the property to the east. The proposed house would be 3 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, approximately 1,110 square feet of heated and cooled area. Now, in the DT zoning district, the front yard setback is a minimum of 15 feet and a maximum of 20 feet. The applicants are showing a 16-foot front setback from the curb to the front wall of the building. The side yard setbacks, or the required side yard setbacks, are 0 feet. The house shows about 3.5 foot minimum setback on the north and south sides of the house. The required rear setback in the DT zoning district is 0 feet with no alley. Of course, there isn't the alley here. If you would call that an alley, the rear setback would be 10 feet, but the house is shown with a 36 to 40 foot setback to the rear property line. Here you have the rear elevation to the left and the proposed front elevation on the right. This will be a one-story structure facing Northwest 2nd Street. The house will feature a raised monolithic concrete foundation, a hardy fiber cement lap siding with K-Can aluminum vented fascia and trim, Plast Pro fiberglass exterior doors. The roofing would be Tamco 30-year dimensional shingles in rustic black. And they're proposing MI thin frame vinyl windows. The windows would be white single hung vinyl windows with a 4/1 mullion arrangement. And the porch would be made from 3,000 PSI concrete. And then here you have the left elevation at the top and the right elevation on the bottom. The height of the structure is about 17 feet 11 inches. And here you have the floor plan on the left with the foundation plan on the right. Again, you see 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. You have a great room with the kitchen, a dining room with French doors leading out to the back. So staff is recommending approval of HP 21-15 with the following conditions: that the windows utilize the simulated divided lights grill for the grill pattern, or actual divided light grills if possible. You would need information sheets for the proposed windows, doors, and roofing material at the building permit stage, and notification to staff of any changes made during construction. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have. I believe the applicant is in attendance at the meeting to also answer any questions.
I have a question.
Yes.
Is this house identical to the 2 behind it that are facing First Avenue?
Yes, that is correct. It is actually, no, it is not correct.
Can you elucidate?
What, the houses that are being built now?
The 2 that face Northwest First. I'm assuming that this is all one project you've got going on?
Yeah, they're similar homes.
They're very similar.
Correct, but they're not identical now.
Okay. And did you do the 3 that are further south on Northwest?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. I guess, and did you ever present to the board, maybe before I was on the board, what your overall plan is for the entire piece of property so we could see whether certain structures had a different scale, a different height? Or is your plan to just come one at a time?
Yes, ma'am, that's the plan.
Because I think the problem we run into is unless everybody's familiar with the project, we see this cute little house. This looks like a cute little house, and as a one-off, it's great. But I personally object to that entire piece of property being built out with virtually, 3 in a row houses, 3 in a row houses. Please don't be offended, but I've personally had a lot of feedback from people and unhappiness with those houses architecturally. more so than others. And if
That's
we end up,
surprising to me because people in the neighborhood come up and thank us for doing what we're doing there by building new houses, and they appreciate it. So I don't know who you're getting that from, but it's not from the neighbors
No,
who stop by a lot and thank
Oh.
us.
there might be some that appreciate it, that there are
And there
others.
might be some, one or two that don't, but it's an, you know, it's an objective opinion.
It is an objective opinion, but
Correct.
my opinion
Yes.
is that in terms of the quality of construction, the type of materials that are being used, aluminum venting, that kind of thing, does not enhance the neighborhood. And if we could see an entire plan, if there were 3 or 4 different plans, but when each one is coming to us as a one-off, it's easy to approve something, not realizing that there's gonna be 8 more of them built exactly the same.
They're, once again, they're not exactly the same.
Well, they're virtually identical.
So the feedback that I'm hearing from residents in the neighborhood is they are very happy to have new construction and neighborhood revitalization.
Okay.
But now as they're seeing the bigger picture, some residents are starting to worry that the houses are so similar that it's robbing the neighborhood of its unique architectural features.
Correct.
And that it's becoming a street where it could be any subdivision in Gainesville, you wouldn't necessarily know you're in a historic district. So I think
Okay.
what residents want is more fine attention to the details that make a house stand out as historic. That's just the feedback that I'm hearing. Nothing personal against you or your development. It's just as the project proceeds, there have been some concerns raised by residents.
And one of the things we're trying to do is produce a product at a price that is inclusive in that area. The problem you have now, and I have the documentation with me, is the cheapest home sold in that neighborhood in the last 18 months has been $300,000. The only 2 other homes in that neighborhood right now for sale are $450,000 and $350,000. There are a lot of people who can't afford a home at that price, but when I can go in there and put a product for sale for $250,000, which is about $130,000 below the average price of a new home constructed in the city of Gainesville. The average price right now for sale of new homes in Gainesville is $383,000. And I'm trying to put a product in downtown Gainesville for $250,000. And it's hard to do that. But I want to do that for the community, and I can go build a bigger home with exquisite detail in it, but I'm going to have to sell that home for $450,000. And that's not, we want people to come downtown to Gainesville. And they can't do it at a $450,000 house, but a lot more can at $250,000. If this board doesn't want those types of folks to come move downtown, then let's be open and honest about it. But you've got a builder willing to give up a lot of profits, because I can go build $400,000, $500,000 houses and make $150,000, or I can build a $250,000 house down there, have a lot more people with the availability to buy that house, and I make $30,000. So sometimes we have to look at the big picture, as she said. And sometimes the big picture is to be inclusive and to do what we need to do to make sure the neighborhood and the community is done as such. So that's what I'm trying to achieve downtown.
Right.
And that's another reason we bought that property, and when we broke it up into smaller lots, so we could do this and be affordable in downtown Gainesville, which is what people want, and it's what your city commission is constantly talking about. We want affordability. You got somebody here doing it. And what do I hear? Add this. Your houses aren't big enough. This is what I hear. They're not expensive enough. We want the wrong people. We're going to have the wrong people come downtown.
We're not, nobody is saying.
Nobody has said that.
Nobody on this board
Ma'am,
says
you
that.
didn't say it, but the actions indicate it.
No. Would you
please.
give us an opportunity to
Okay.
talk, and we can talk about the issues? And the issue, one of the issues right off the bat is obviously that's been brought up is repetitiveness. Because whenever you have houses start repeating themselves, and we're talking essentially the same, not identical, but essentially the same, it diminishes the rest of the neighborhood because that's not what happens in the neighborhood here. We have a lot of diversity in the neighborhood. We have certain things that key it as to being historic buildings, and what you effectively come off as. And this is not a slam or anything like this. It's just pointing out what the board's trying to avoid. We're trying to avoid the look of the period back when Houses for Humanity were being plopped down, the same house all over, and that's what we're worried about. And
And do you know why it was, Jay, do you know why it was done like that back then?
Cost, yeah.
Cost and affordability, and to make sure they were inclusive.
All right, well, let me tell you about the next thing. Nobody has told you to build a bigger house or build a $400,000 house. I am going to talk to you about what I immediately see wrong with the details of the plan, okay? And these are suggestions. These are problem areas I see. Beginning with the roof of the house. You've got a gable in the front, I understand, but you've got a hip in the back. You've got two different types of roof style going on. I see it all over the place in builder houses. You shouldn't see that in a historic neighborhood. And that's an easy thing to fix.
Okay.
You either do a hip roof or you do a gable roof.
I mean, if we're worried about the back of the house, this is news to me.
The back of the house matters as much as the front of the house does in a way, because everybody has to look at it. In your case, they don't, because the neighbor has the identical house, so he probably wouldn't
You
care.
know, Jay, I don't think we want to go, I don't think we want to.
What I'm just pointing out,
Okay.
we have to look at architectural guidelines in terms of what is compatible with the historic houses.
Okay.
Okay? And you know, I don't want to, I'm not doing this to be negative. I'm just trying to help you understand what the board is seeing as a problem. And it's not the fact that they're all the same house, it's that.
They're not all, let's get off that horse, Jay. They're
Well,
not the same
I
house.
just said it was
The
not.
first three that we approved are all different houses,
Correct.
okay?
They are not
This
the same
house has
house.
nothing to do with the other houses that came before this board.
Okay.
The houses being built behind this are on a separate property that are not in the historic district,
All right.
facing a total another street. That's First Street, this is Second Street. They're not side by side.
They are
They're
not the same
lined up. There
houses.
is
I
an
understand that.
alley between them, behind them.
All right. Let us continue with this house because we're trying to help you get this thing approved.
Well, let's get it approved this evening.
We will see. All right, on the front of the house, you've got shutters that don't fit the window openings. You'd be
Okay.
better off with losing those.
Okay, we'll remove those shutters.
The front windows, and I'm only pointing out the front window because that's where it becomes a problem. You have a window that is more horizontal than the rest of them. When you divide it into four, all of a sudden, the squares that you end up with in the window start going horizontal. That's not a historic proportion.
What? Pull up the elevation. Which window?
The one with the shutters, the one that's pointing out in the front gable. You see where it's on the front elevation.
That's a 4050, and the other window is
What
a
I'm saying,
3050.
what I'm saying is, when you divide it into four like that, you end up with horizontal proportions, which are not a historic proportion. So we need to do something
Okay,
different with that
hold
window, or change the.
Say that again. When you divide it by 4, it's not historic?
In a historic proportion, you would have 5 identical squares, or you would have 5 vertical proportioned rectangles. Anytime you have a rectangle that starts going horizontal on a window by putting mullions in it and dividing it up, that's not a historic proportion, and it is one of the things that stands out as being incorrect.
Okay, is a
You could put a 6/1, that'd be no problem.
how about a 1/1?
You could do that.
Okay, let's do that.
These are minor things, but
Okay,
they're
well,
things.
let's make notes and we'll make these changes and get this approved.
All right, the other thing I'm looking at is, this is a raised slab.
Yes, sir.
Which happens in the neighborhood. How far off the ground is it?
2 feet.
Sure doesn't look like it.
That's just like our other houses out there. We got,
You have one step and it's 2 feet.
Barely a foot.
well, I mean, we may have to add another
That's about a
step,
foot.
but, I
14
mean,
inches maybe.
the intent is to be 2 feet. just like our other houses we built out there.
All right, well, this is something we get from people at the board, and it's not, maybe not done intentionally, but when they say 2 feet, we're thinking 2 feet off the ground. The builder is usually thinking 2 feet off the footing. That's probably what's going on.
No, we go 2 feet from the ground.
Okay.
To the
That's
top of
what
the slab.
That's what we are looking at,
Right.
but that's not what you're showing us.
Okay, we'll add a step. I'm sorry that wasn't on the drawing, but no, the intent is 2 feet.
Okay, that's,
Yeah, it's a port in place.
that helps us out.
Yeah.
Okay, understand that, because it's the details, it's the proportions, it's how it relates to other buildings in the neighborhood that we're worried about. And then, like I said, we're also worried about, you know, the overall proportion of the house. And if it's a box, you know, a rectangle of a certain size with a roof of a certain height, and all the roofs kind of do the same thing, that's what bothers us. It's not that they're similar, it's that it starts looking repetitive. And what we're trying to do is maintain the level of diversity, because in that neighborhood, the buildings are all fairly same size and same general combination of things, but the neighbor's house is slightly different from the one next to it, is slightly different from the one next to that, and not just different trim.
I like that slightly.
Yeah,
They vary slightly.
they vary.
Slightly from each other.
proportion.
They're not identical, but they do vary slightly.
And to make it easy for you to understand, maybe do something like change the roof pitch on one just to mix it up, or something like that.
Here's what we did on this one. We went with the 712 because on the last ones y'all approved they were 612, and you brought up the fact that you would prefer them to be 7. So that's what we did. We changed the roof pitch.
Okay, what is this
From
one?
the last ones, actually at your suggestion, Jay.
Okay,
You know, we took your advice on the last ones and did that.
what is this one right now?
A 7.
712?
Yes, sir.
All right, it looks better than a shower pitch would.
I have to agree with you. That's why we took your advice and did it.
Okay,
But once again, my goal here is affordability in that neighborhood.
yeah,
And there's no new construction affordability in that neighborhood. Unless you're willing to spend $350 and up. And I can do that. I'm willing to go build $350,000, $450,000, $500,000 houses, because there's a lot more profit in it.
well, we've got enough of those.
I'd like to speak to that if I can. Am I?
Michelle? Go ahead.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm familiar with these houses and I sell a lot in the downtown area. And I mean, what I'm looking at is these houses are selling that you've built so far have sold for about $215 a square foot. The sales prices being $289 and $291. And so we're just under some of the other ones. But I think, you know, the difference in the homes in reality is that, you know, we're seeing that same sales price for other homes in the neighborhood at $215 a square foot. But the difference is that at $215 a square foot for some of those other homes, and I'm just going by square foot prices. I mean, you're at $291, $289, which isn't very far off from, you know, the $350 or the whatever the other numbers are that are selling in the neighborhood. The difference being is that some of those homes are being built with real wood floors. They've got, you know, architectural interests. And, you know, they have doors, significant doors that are interesting that sort of, you know, speak to some of the historic nature of the rest of the homes in the area. We're not seeing aluminum soffits, you know, really builder stock doors coming out. So I think that is where the neighborhood is, some of the neighbors are starting to feel. I'm an owner in that neighborhood and own right around the corner from you. And I mean, that I'm looking at just the construction techniques in themselves. It's not what we're seeing, and it is that level of detail. So, you know, you're making the example that this is a cost issue, but yet when I'm seeing everything else that's selling in the downtown, when you're looking at smaller homes and they're selling at that premium of $215 a square foot, which is what everything else is going for, unfortunately, your homes are lacking the character of some of the other that some of the other builders are able to establish with the homes, and I think that's what we're talking about. So, you know, while I hear you saying that you're building things that are affordable, you're right at the square foot price for the same, but the product that's being put out is maybe not as sensitive to some of the historic detailing that we're seeing in some of these other new construction homes in the area.
You're correct. And as a realtor, you should know it is a lot easier to build a bigger home at a lower square price per foot than it is a smaller home. It is a lot easier to go build a 1,900 or 1,600 square foot home like you're representing around the corner for $350,000 at $215 a square foot than it is to build an 1,100 or 1,200 square foot home at that same price point.
Absolutely not. And there's a direct
Absolutely, I do it for a living.
with the smaller homes, and the smaller homes garner a significantly higher price than a larger home per square foot. That is
Correct,
fact.
and like you said earlier, Michelle, I'm doing it at the same price of your higher square foot, of your higher square footage home. So in your own theory or your own comment, my home shouldn't be selling at $215. They should be selling at $270 or $250. But I'm able to put that same product together and get inclusivity into that neighborhood for the same price you're selling big homes for. So there has to this board and
215 is one of the higher dollars per square foot in the area right now. So, and whether that we're seeing that historic, if something is restored in historic, we are seeing it in that price per square foot. And these are restored historic homes. So I actually think you're getting a pretty premium price on your product. That's the bottom line. And so realistically, and we're seeing, like I said, details. We're not seeing wood and clad windows. We're not seeing wood floors. We're seeing vinyl and different things. And the bottom line is that we're getting feedback. I mean, it's difficult to continue to see the same. They are a little different. I mean, I'm looking, they are a little bit different. And I think,
they do have slight variance, just like
I
Jay
would like to
pointed
sell
out,
more of
the original houses in the neighborhood have. They're the same, but they are slight variance. Jay just pointed that out about the original homes in the neighborhood. They are all similar and they are slightly variant.
It's just some of the details that will make a difference, because I think you're right. I mean, we want to see infill. You're absolutely right. And I think nobody wants to
But do
stop
you want to see affordable and inclusive infill?
Sure.
Is the question.
Sure. So what is the difference? Things like the aluminum soffit. I mean, why is that necessary to keep your costs down? That is not something we see in historic homes. Is there another way to do that?
There are
so that we're not seeing aluminum soffits in a historic district. It's inappropriate. And in my estimation, it's not something that we should see. So is there another alternative that you can do that would keep this home affordable from a building standpoint, that would still allow this home to speak to the historic nature of the neighborhood? Mm-hmm. And I think the answer is yes. I mean, you're building these things out of wood. Why do we have to? Why do we need to have an aluminum soffit?
Yes, but I can tell you, no, it's not. I can tell you as a builder, it is not. I don't have to think it is. I know it's not. There is aluminum soffits throughout those neighborhoods. Yeah. My goal here for the city of Gainesville is affordability and to be inclusive. And a lot more people can afford a $250,000 house than a $400,000 or $350,000 house that you're selling.
Well, first of all, there's I don't know where the only aluminum soffits I can think of in the Pleasant Street district.
I can't believe you've got a builder here willing and demonstrating he's willing to give up profit to benefit the neighborhood and the community. And this board is worried about, we want more doorways. We want more brick. Okay. We want these kind of windows. We want wood floors inside the house.
So look,
Michelle, what does wood floors inside the house have to do with historic?
We don't, the board does not mandate what's inside the home.
But you
can do whatever you like there.
However, you brought it up.
I think I was talking.
All right, you brought it up. Both of you, we're not debating the price of the house.
Right. And what we're looking at, though, is the aluminum soffits. I think I can speak very clearly that.
That's what we face as a board.
Yes.
I care a lot about affordable housing, equal access to housing.
Okay, well, here's a chance to prove it.
Hold on. Can she talk? We have guidelines that are placed upon us by the state of Florida that we have to follow for these buildings to fit into the historic neighborhoods. So our challenge here is how can we build new construction homes that preserve the character of these neighborhoods and don't look so cookie cutter, subdivision, thrown down. Because what happens to us as a board if we let okay, aluminum soffit slide this time. Next time we have someone come and say, well, you've already done it. And then it continues and it continues and it continues. And then we start having $400,000 and $500,000 houses built with the same, I don't want to call it kind of like blank, no character architectural features because we let it slide before. So for me as a board member, I have to preserve the historical aspects of the neighborhood while also thinking about things like affordability. So I really get your frustration and why you're,
okay.
angry at us, because I see where you're coming from. You're saying I could be out here making hundreds of thousands of dollars off a house and I'm trying to build affordability. So why are you hassling me about shingles? But that's our job, even if it seems unfortunate, is to hassle you about these small details. So I don't want you to take it personal. And it's not that we as the board don't want these neighborhoods to be accessible. We ask for the city commission to come up with programs to help original owners come back to these neighborhoods to afford things, right? We want this. So I appreciate you doing this. I just want you to be a little less upset and a little more open to seeing how you can make this really cute home. I'm looking at this and I'm like, I would love to live here. It's great. 3 bedrooms, 2 bath, bigger than the house I've got. How can we make that fit the neighborhood and also still be affordable? So I get your frustration, and it's okay to be upset with us, but
I'm not upset with y'all.
take a deep breath and
I'm
we
not
can
upset,
work
I'm
through this.
disappointed. Just like you said, you've been asking the commission, the city commission, to do something about affordability. What have they done? What have they done? Or what am I doing? What am I doing? I'm doing it. You're asking them to do it, and they're not.
Okay.
You got a guy here doing it. And I'm disappointed that I don't have support from you guys to help me make that happen. And I'm not asking for money. I'm not going to the city asking for free land to build on. I'm not doing any of that. I'm finding a way to do it myself because, like you, I've waited on the city to make it happen, and they're not making it happen. But you got somebody here willing to do it.
I think all Jay has done is give you support and options.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
All right, listen, we are not debating tonight economic housing, low-income housing. That's not what we're trying to do.
I'm not trying to debate that either. I'm just trying to make a point.
What we are trying to do is meet our historic guidelines, maintain the character of the neighborhood. And we're trying to give you suggestions on that. Like I said, people, some of the comments that the board has heard is the buildings are all beginning to look the same. My immediate gut reaction is they do look a little tract subdivision. Not a lot, but a little. And that's what we're just trying to do, is tweak the details with your help so that they match more what's in the neighborhood, okay?
I understand.
The aluminum soffits, which are something you don't find on historic houses unless they've been badly remodeled, okay? Question, a way to do that possibly cheaper. What about the idea of just open rat tails showing the ends of the trusses? That's what all these original houses had.
I mean, I'm willing to.
That would be the most immediate thing.
You want bird's mouth and tail
Right.
sticking out.
Yes, that's
what,
exactly
on
all
a manufactured truss.
Yeah,
You can do that. If you'll approve that, I'll do it.
Now, let me throw just a suggestion to you. Because the downfall in doing that is when you look up at that, you're gonna be looking at a sheet of plywood. Now, one way we've gotten around it to kind of disguise that fact,
Put beadboard up there.
the T111.
Yeah.
4-inch V groove, flip it over just around the perimeter. If you do that, you can get the appearance of it being individual boards. Once it's painted, it'll be fine.
Yeah, I'm willing to do that, Jay.
But I
agree with you.
think even that little detail right there is gonna make it more compatible with the other historic buildings and get away from introducing the aluminum,
Okay.
which everybody
The money I
is
save on
not
the
happy.
soffit, I could spend on doing
Yeah.
that with hardy board and
It's a
still
trade-off.
hit my target price.
It's a trade-off, okay?
Okay, I'm willing to do that.
But, what I also wanna tell you, you make all these improvements to this house, I think we're gonna be happier with this house. But when you come back to us, if the next house looks just like this one except backwards, we may give you grief again. So
I got you. I'm willing to
let's
make
work
those-
together on this, okay?
Jay, I'm willing to make those make those changes.
Okay.
I have one more.
Yes. Yes.
What is the size of the porch posts?
The
Looks to be
size, I'm sorry?
porch post.
Posts, are they 4x4s, 6x6s? What are they? Because
Yeah,
right now,
you have to pull up the framing plan, but I imagine those are wrapped 4x4s being the smaller house. We don't overbear it with
Okay.
the big.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a,
probably wouldn't have
I can
been-
almost tell you those are wrapped 4x4s.
okay. And the porch railing is what type of material?
It'll be wood.
Okay, because it looks like metal on the drawing.
It's just because it's dark. I had them darken it up so they would stick out. They would, not that we're coloring that, but wanted them to be able to be distinguished.
Try to keep, just a word of advice, wood's great, try to do them, if you're using 2x2s, put them 5 inches on center so they'll have that same proportion as a historic one would have. And it meets the code too. as far
Yeah,
as
that's
the
what we
4-inch
did on,
spear.
yeah, okay.
And, yeah, as long as you stick with the basic, simple details of the neighborhood, you're doing the right thing.
See, I appreciate your direction. I'm willing to make those changes. But it is confusing when, we go and I'm willing to make these changes, then I'm told, hey, do you make sure your railings look like the rest of the neighborhood?
Well, there's a lot of things in the neighborhood.
Right, correct. So you got to understand my standpoint, this is also confusing when you don't want stuff to look the same, but then I'm told, make sure your railings look like the rest of the neighborhood.
You gotta make stuff look the same, but like the old stuff that looks
Like,
the same. And
like
not
the good
new
old stuff,
Yeah.
not the bad old stuff.
Well, it's like what I said, if we're only approving, one off every time, you don't realize.
Well, the good news,
Similar.
folks, is I've got one more lot on the historic side of this. And on the back side of this, it's,
Okay.
so I'll be here one more time, and I'm willing to make these changes, Jay.
First Street is the historic district still, isn't it?
No, ma'am, it's not.
We approved Larkin's 2 duplexes on First.
Yeah, but,
Does it move over?
yeah, the line jogs all over the place over there.
Yeah, the back side of this is cut out. So
Ah.
Jay, I agree with you, and I'm willing to make the changes you suggested. If we
Right.
can,
Well, we
Put
have,
that on the
we
record
have to
and
talk
approve.
to make sure everybody agrees with
Yes, sir.
the changes I'm suggesting. But like I said, details, when you have a simple form of a house, which a lot of those exist in that neighborhood, it's all about the details. And,
Can we also talk about the doors? Because speaking of that, I know we've covered a little bit on the windows and talked about a 1/1. Specifically the door, what's intended there?
it looks like just a 6-panel, is it what is fiberglass door?
yeah, fiberglass door with a two-light door.
Okay, that's pretty generic.
It is, but I mean, honestly, Jay, it goes back to the cost thing.
Yeah,
I mean, I can spend $220 on a door, I can spend $2,200. And I know you know that. I mean, I've seen some of your work.
and honestly, I mean, you kind of see the whole gambit over there. You used to see a lot of glass doors, but you've got security issues, so.
Correct. I mean, the
For the new
neighborhood
houses,
is, I mean,
obviously.
it's changing, and it's changing in a positive way,
Sure,
but I still have to take that stuff into consideration.
Okay. Let's just, I want to know how the board feels about the suggestions I've made, because they are suggestions at this point. And I want to know if there's any other things that are details that could be improved without really major reconstruction.
I got a question for the board to look at. If you could switch the photo over to the lattice at the bottom of the house. Whoever's controlling the slideshow.
Looks like it happens only on the front primarily.
Are you looking for the, what?
There are samples of product at the end.
Oh, at the
Yeah,
end.
that's not on the PowerPoint, though.
No.
Oh, okay.
Before the board, it's 25 of 33, if anyone wants to look at it.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's something more that can be done with that. It doesn't really resemble what you would see on a historic home, and also it's covering up the pillars. I'm wondering if we wanted to discuss that at all.
Oh, no, if it appears to be covering the pillars on that, it's not supposed to. The lattice would stop and start. The pillars would be standing out.
What I would tell you, because I'm looking at her screen now, and I see it, and it looks like it's a horizontal lattice. If it is, that's okay.
Yeah, it would be the
Not the diagonal, but the horizontal is what you
correct.
would have
Yes, sir.
historically
Yep.
seen.
But it's lattice against the cement in between the piers, because it's not a post and pier.
But you can darken
We,
that.
we paint the slab black, that is correct.
Yeah, the stem wall is what it is.
Yes,
Yeah.
we paint that black and then the.
That's
white
not
lattice.
unusual in new construction, and this is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is only at the porch, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, there it is, right there.
I mean, that's the existing homes.
But in that picture, you see it goes all the way to the corner. What you would see on the corner would
Well,
be
now,
pier.
too, we remodeled those homes.
Yeah.
And the reason, I mean, one of the reasons we did that as well was it's required by insurance, no access to
Oh,
anything
yeah.
else. But I assume that's the type of lattice you're referring to.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
lattice is okay. It's just,
Yeah.
like I said, you wouldn't normally cover over a pier that was
Right.
happening at the corner. And your drawing shows the pier beneath the column.
Yeah,
Which is-
the lattice stops at the brick and then.
So, yeah, the brick's exposed.
Yes, sir, yes, sir.
I think that's the point Danielle was making.
Yep, that's the point. Thank you.
Okay. All right. These suggestions I've made, everybody okay with them?
Comment.
Do we
Yes,
have a
Bill?
comprehensive list of what they are?
We will put it in a quick list. So
All
it's
right.
part of the motion.
My comment is, we're really talking about two fundamentally different things here. One, the quality of the product, and in terms of exterior materials and variation in the product being presented. And as Jay has mentioned, I mean, there's some things in there that are a waste of money. You know, the muttons, the way they're presented, the soffits, that you have to spend any money on soffits at all. There's some things you could take out of what we saw.
I'd be willing to take out any suggestions you have to save money. I'd
so-
absolutely do it.
Yeah, there tends to be a preset concept that an old window is one with lots of muntins.
Yes, sir.
Wrong. Many old windows are 1/1.
Or 2/2, yeah.
Yeah,
Something simple.
I have no
Something
problem
very-
with the 1/1.
One
I
over
actually
one is
prefer
fine.
those
Especially-
myself.
especially in the area.
Yes, sir.
What's important is the proportion of windows that is very consistent in the neighborhood, which on most of the windows you're showing fits. It just, the proportion of the front, that single front window needs to be more narrow or deeper or paired.
Yeah.
And ditch the faux shingles,
Yeah.
shutters.
Yeah, we'll get rid of those, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, that does not,
I
Yes.
understand, yes, sir.
but I respect what you're attempting to do here. I think with a little bit of thought, you probably could come up with one more plan that gives it, without spending more money.
I think maybe on the last one, I'm just gonna go big and make a pile of money.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make everybody happy, including my bank account, on the last one.
Yeah, but.
When I gotta fight to, be affordable, I don't know if I want that fight.
Yeah, well,
I'd rather have my
I'm
bank
just
account full.
saying, and I would like anybody that's
Yes, sir.
ever hears this to say, having a different plan does not mean making a more expensive plan.
Yes, sir, I agree with you,
Yeah,
yes, sir.
So, so at least have two plans, that's the plea. I appreciate what you're doing, enjoy, I wish you all the success.
Are you gonna make a motion if I give you this?
Why don't you make it, since you're,
Um,
can you make the motion?
We have like 6 things so far. Is that
Do we
about
have
right?
public
We gotta,
Yeah, we're gonna go for public comment next. Well, let's see if there's anybody from the public that wants to comment. Anybody?
Yes, Mr. Chair, Mr. Thomas Hawkins would like to comment on this issue. Mr. Hawkins?
Okay.
Mr. Hawkins, are you there? Thomas Hawkins, are you there? Give me 1 second, Mr. Chair. We think we have an idea of what the problem is. Hang on 1 quick second.
Okay.
All right, let's try that one more time. Mr. Hawkins, are you out there?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. Thank you so much for being patient, sir.
Oh, my pleasure. I had some comments that I sort of make to the merits of the petition, but all the members of the board made them much more eloquent than I could have. So I want to thank you all for your knowledge. Everything from Member Hazen commenting on the sales prices in the neighborhood to Mr. Warner's excellent comment just a moment ago that you can do different design, not necessarily more expensive design, to Ms. Hauk's comments on what the code requires. So I think what I'll say, instead of talking about the petition, is just say that I think you're on the right track. All of your comments are warranted. And I want to thank you, because I know each of you is giving up your evening with your families in order to participate on the board to support our communities tonight. And I sense some tension in the room, and I don't think anybody who volunteers should ever be on the receiving end of that. So I just wanted to share my appreciation for you and your time and your clear intelligence and knowledge and your ability to talk through these problems to get to the right solution. So thank each of you, and thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Mr. Chair, there's nobody else on the line. The floor is yours.
Is this, let me ask, is this the issue that Dottie Fabusy wanted to make comment about? I believe she's in the lobby, or?
No, I did not want to comment at all.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think it was when I was trying to get on, I ended up there. That's why.
Okay, no problem. Just want to make sure.
Thank you,
we get
though.
everybody. Okay, so. These were four right here. If there's anything else, but I mean, these were four that were actual changes.
Yeah, I have a list of 6 things.
6 things? Okay, well,
Yes, 6.
you want to take it on?
To begin, to make a motion to approve this with multiple changes, including losing the aluminum soffit, changing the soffit, changing the front window, 1/1, 2/2.
Let's just say 1/1. since
Yeah,
it's-
we'll go 1/1.
Changing the roof to make it uniform so that it's not different in the front and the back.
Jay,
Gable front.
we have a gable front on it, Jay. I can't change the roof. I'm already in permitting, or I already have my engineering done on this. I'll do it moving forward.
Next time.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
So
But-
scratch the roof. Making sure that the base is 2-foot concrete, that
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not changed.
That was the original intent, and I agree with that.
That the lattice does not cover piers,
I agree
as
with
shown
that.
in the accent, and that there's no shutters on the front window.
I'll accept that as well. Yes, ma'am.
What else you got?
That's, you got them.
I think you've gotten everything that we've talked about as a group.
Wait,
All right.
what about the door?
And he gets to keep his generic door.
Well, I mean, the historic district, is that what we do now? We just get to pick? I mean, aren't doors and windows one of our primary focuses? Because I know that we're willing,
Jay.
I can think of a wagon wheel in the duck pond that we, argued,
Well,
like that we
a simple colonial door is fairly basic and straightforward, even historically. It's like I said, a historic door on this house probably would have been a glass door above a wood panel or something real simple.
But can't we do a different panel or something that would be more reminiscent? I mean, these sort of raised panels that we saw in the 80s feel pretty inappropriate on the front of a home.
Michelle, if
I mean,
you'd like to, you're welcome to meet with me tomorrow on site, and I'll let you pick the door if it's within my budget. How about that?
I'm just thinking something like maybe a little more where it feels
How about-
like we're going
Jay, how
like a
about,
craftsman aesthetic here. So sort of like just something with like a flat panel would be more appropriate.
How about
I
we
mean-
pick an accent color, Jay? We put an accent color on the door so it sticks out or delineates itself from the rest of the house. Because I don't know where we're going with this door thing. And Jay, you know as well as I do, doors can get expensive fast.
The door he has is fairly generic, Michelle. I agree, it may not be classic Pleasant Street, but I'm not sure what is.
I mean, so like to me, like I'm looking at that door and it's just, that's just not a door that we would see on any historic home. And I like the little transom up over above it. That's really nice. But I mean, you know, it just is sort of raised panels. I don't know. I mean, to me, that's just not something we would see. And my concern is by approving something like that, we're saying anybody else, again, we're sort of setting a precedent that, okay, that door's fine. Well, then what? We're going to see, you know.
Michelle, where you're going with this is you're looking for something that has more design and more historic character. The problem is you're not going to find that in either metal or fiberglass, which is generally what most of the newer homes are. You're going to have to get into a wood door, which is going to get into a lot more money. And it's our guidelines don't necessarily require that on new construction. So a generic door
So
that has kind of classic lines.
Though we don't have any say, I mean, because to me, like when we're looking at all of these, I mean, I know we look at it for restorations when people are replacing doors, and I can think of several cases where we were pretty specific with that. And I just,
we stay away from things that are more contemporary in nature. We stick with things that are more historic based. A 6-panel colonial door is about as generic and historic as you can get. It is generic, and it, like I said, you're going to see some, and maybe not everywhere, but you see, there is no common front door in that neighborhood.
How much are you paying for that front door?
It's probably around 220.
Okay, so for $370, you can do a really nice craftsman
It's a craftsman door.
front door.
I appreciate you contributing to my expenses and helping me out with the difference.
We
You eliminated the shutters.
You don't have to pay for aluminum.
Yeah, but I mean, there's other stuff I'm doing here that I'm going to spend probably a little bit more than removing that soffit to make that detail work. And I think Jay
But we
will agree with
eliminated the
that.
shutters.
That's right, you save money on the shutters.
Once again, I'll restate my invitation to Michelle to meet with me tomorrow, and we can go through the book that I have for doors, and if she could pick out any door within my budget.
Okay, that sounds like a challenge to me.
I mean, I'm all for that. I mean, I don't have a problem changing the door. I've got a goal I'm trying to achieve. And it's not profit on this project.
Okay.
It's affordability and be inclusive.
Liz, send me the door. We'll send it.
You come meet with me, Michelle.
He's not talking to me, Michelle, apparently.
sorry.
I'm
Get a
not
good
on
door
board.
over there.
I'm not
That
being
sounds good. I love good doors and windows.
All right, the door is not a requirement, right?
We have a motion.
That's a motion. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have lots of seconds. Bill was the first, I believe. All right,
So-
Mr. Simmons, I think you better do a roll call on this one.
Yes, so I want to confirm, so was it Nicole Nesberg who made the motion
Correct.
and Bill seconded?
Correct.
Thank you. Okay, for the roll call vote, Nicole Nesberg,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hawk,
Aye.
Bill Warner,
Aye.
Michelle Hazen,
Can I say aye with the condition of a door? Or do I just have to say aye?
You have to say nay.
I need one nay.
I really want that door.
I told you, come meet with me and I'll let you pick one.
Aye or nay?
I'll give you an aye, but yeah, I'm gonna
There's no
expect a new door.
conditional ayes.
I'd rather you give me an eye than have to take one.
Just say
I'll give
nay.
you an aye, but I want the door. Okay, aye.
All right, I may surprise you, Michelle.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Simmons.
Da- Danielle Massey,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hausauer,
I'm giving you an eye also, but I'm with Michelle on the door.
Just give me the eye. I
We'll
appreciate
just
it.
meet with
and Jay Reeves.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes.
Okay.
Jay, I
on the-
appreciate it. Thank
On the
you all.
door, word of advice, you are coming back once more. Don't forget that.
You wait till you see this next house. I'm gonna have you design it. All right, thank you all.
All right, thank you. Thanks. Mr. Simmons, moving on.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just one moment. Okay, then. The next item under new business is Legistar number 200895, petition HP-21-14, Eric Lightman, University Realty LLC owner, certificate of appropriateness to re-roof an existing office building with a metal roof, add shaker shingles to a front elevation, and general repairs. Located at 1107 Southwest 2nd Avenue, this building is a contributing structure to the University Heights Historic District South. And I will start sharing my screen. Okay, this petition is, the proposal is to re-roof an existing office building with a metal roof, add the shaker shingles to a front elevation, and also get approval of some general repairs that are proposed. Now, the existing office building was built as a single-family dwelling back in 1906, according to the Florida Master Site File. It's a 1.5-story frame craftsman-style building, which features a battered pier porch, an intersecting gable roof with composition shingles, a wood weatherboard siding with 2- and 4-inch planks, a pier foundation, and wood windows. The proposal would replace the existing shingle roof with a new 26-gauge 5V crimp style roofing system with a galvalume finish from Tri-County Metals. The project also involves the placement of shaker shingles, which would be hardy shingle siding, to replace the siding surrounding the second floor window on the front side of the building. So you see the location here. It's just a block and a half or so east of the university on the south side of Southwest 2nd Avenue. The zoning for the property is urban 5, and it's about 0.14 acres in size in terms of the property. These are some pictures showing the structure in question. You see, it used to be the Family Chiropractic Center. I believe the building is now currently vacant. Some of the other things they would like to get your blessings on includes the removal of the existing light fixture on the front porch to be replaced by a light fixture, one on each side of the porch. They want to repair or remove broken wood on the ceiling of the entry porch, and that replacement wood to be stained with an oak finish, and also repair removal of broken wood on the exterior floor of the front porch if needed, to be replaced with similar wood planks and painted a dark brown color. This is the product information for the proposed 5V crimp from Tri-County Metals. So in terms of the roofing, the proposal would replace the shingle roof with an exposed fastener metal roof, the 26 gauge 5V crimp. The board approves metal roofing on a case-by-case basis depending on the style and use of the building. Recommended metal roofing for most buildings in the historic district is a 5V crimp or standing seam metal, as spacing of these roofs is more sympathetic with historic metal roofs and exposed fasteners are not as numerous or visible. And noting the mix of roof types in the University Heights Historic District South, the proposed metal roofing is compatible with the neighborhood. Now, I'm showing here some pictures of some nearby properties. On the left, you have the house at 1113 Southwest 2nd Avenue. This is the house next door to the west of the subject property. And on the right, you have the house at 1023 Southwest 2nd Avenue. I believe this house is 2 doors down on the east of the subject property. So the proposed shaker shingles around the second floor window involve the removal of the existing siding to be replaced with the shingles. The applicant wants this to be an accent to the overall design of the building. The applicant notes that the building next door to the west, which is the picture here at 1113, has shaker shingles, and that two houses to the east at 1023, that house also has shaker shingles. They feel that the addition of the shaker shingles will help the building fit in better with the historic district. The guidelines indicate that wood siding should be retained and preserved. Repair or replacement of deteriorated material is acceptable. Artificial siding may be permitted if the material is shown to be compatible in quality, shape, and scale with the historic building. And the next slide is sort of a product information. You see a rendering here of what that area on that second floor around the window would look like with the shingles. You see in this area, the right-hand corner, the information about the hardy shingle siding. So with this proposal, staff recommends approval of HP-21-14, including the re-roof from shingle to the 5V crimp metal roof, and as well as the proposed repairs, and recommends the board hear the request for the shaker shingle siding around the second story window above the front porch as proposed in the application. I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have, and I believe the applicant is on this call to answer any questions you might have about the project.
He's here in person.
Ah, okay.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Mr. Simmons. Would you like to add anything to the presentation by staff?
No, I think Jason did a good job. If you want me to come up there and answer questions, I can do that.
Okay, well, give us a minute and let's let the board discuss it first. Board comment, questions?
Let me disclose, first of all, that Eric had mentioned back in October or something like that this might be coming up. Since then, I have gone by, walked around the building. Eric and I have not communicated since then.
Okay.
Further, I'm not vested in any way in the project.
Okay.
So, responding to the petition, in as much as this is going to be a commercial building, this will be a rare instance of me supporting 5E Crimp 10 as a roof solution.
Take it to be
Also, I think that using an appropriate hardy simulated shingle would be an effective accent to the building, compatible with the neighborhood. I would not, by way of advice, use a natural wood stain on the roof or the porch roof. If that's what's proposed, I would encourage a coating. Other than that, I'm totally on board with the petition.
Okay. Anybody else have comments?
I'm fine with it.
Okay, my comment is that I can understand wanting to make the dormer a dominant feature. But the only way I see it working is if you use a real wood shake, you know, cedar shingle or whatever, because you're gonna be putting it right up there next to all the neighboring real stuff. And the hardy is very flat and it just simulates. It really doesn't have the texture. It's not gonna make the same kind of statement the neighboring buildings would. And it's gonna be very apparent. You put a contemporary piece of wood, you know, trying to simulate something else, like siding does often, on a key part of this building. It's gonna make that dormer look like it was added to the building's my fear. Now, if you put it shake shingle just like the others are, or a sawn shingle would be fine too, that has the same kind of texture, same kind of randomness, and this stuff is readily available. It's just a little more expensive. And you're not talking about a large area either. I think you'll get the effect you want. It will not make a statement other than different from the neighboring houses, and it'll blend. And I think that's what you're after. So that's my piece of advice. I just don't think Hardy does it. It's a really bad imitation is what it is of the shake shingle. But it is a Craftsman building, so you know that material is appropriate to the building. It's just didn't happen on this one. The metal roof, yeah, I assume this is going to be Galvalume color?
Yes, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yes, that's the correct type of Galvalume.
Galvalume
roof.
silver.
And the one other, I don't even know if this is worth mentioning, but the roofer contractor that that I'm going with said that the manufacturer would be the same exact product. I think there's Tri-County Metals up there, and then there's another one called Capital Metals that he may have to go for, but it's the same exact product.
Okay. It's a Galvalume roof. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes.
Let me clear for purposes of vocabulary here. A shingle is a flat shingle. A shake is a
Split,
textured
yeah.
shingle arrived at by splitting a wood shingle.
Yeah.
One is a very high textured item, the other is a flat element. And the understanding is you want a flat shingle that what is simply a shingle.
Yeah, don't use the word shake. It's a shingle.
With the neighborhood there. I agree with Jay. I mean, when I've used the hardy shingle, it's been when the primary structure is a wood shingle, but a dependency has been set way back where you make the leap and it looks similar from a distance. This is, I agree with Jay, this is much more prominent. You're not talking about high quantity here. And I think it would definitely, in terms of the quality of appearance, it'd be well worth that difference between a cypress or a pressure-treated pine shingle.
Okay, that sounds good.
Okay.
Let me ask you about your peers. they're in rough shape. I mean, the building, you know, is gonna get the attention that it deserves and needs. Your piers looked like they were sort of faintly stuccoed. It was more of a slurry of concrete than a, you know, full stucco treatment. Have you given any thought to just simply revealing the brick that appears to be under it? Or just paint? That's from that, you have a battered column there down to a darker cap, and below that is a brick pier.
I think the plan for right now was just to paint it rather
Yeah.
than to do anything.
Yeah, I'd encourage you, yeah, I don't have any problem with that. I'd encourage you to contemplate as time goes on, there's cash flow related, to contemplate restoring that to those piers to their brick.
I actually hadn't thought of that, but I'm gonna just write that down there.
It's all gonna depend on if it's feasible. It's all gonna depend on if it's feasible or not.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's, you do an exploratory
Yeah.
forensic there.
And I did have one question for you, since you mentioned it in the staff COA, is the light fixture. I take it just had your simple ceiling porch fixture, and what you want to do is, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm reading it as you want to put them on the columns?
We actually want to put them, you can't see it because it's foliage, but we actually want to put one between each of those columns, between.
On the back wall?
Hanging down from the porch. So right now, there's
Okay.
one hanging down from the porch. And we want to make, I think it'll be actually 3 hanging down from the porch, so it'll look congruent there.
If I may, I would say that would be a problem, not less an aesthetic problem as you're subject to, you have certain vulnerability in that location, 1200 block per second. What would be historically more appropriate would be a globe-type base, surface mounted on the ceiling. You know, they go anywhere from a 6-inch to a 12-inch shade with what would originally been a cast iron rim that was surface mounted. I would not advise a pendant type of unit in that look, well, period, both for performance and aesthetic purposes.
The situation you're gonna run into is there's a beam that all the columns rest on, and the beam, trying to get wiring through that's gonna be really, really difficult. And that, you know, and like I say, it's not really kind of a historically accurate look to have them hanging between the columns like that.
I think currently, right now, there is one that is hanging between the columns.
Oh, okay.
Are you saying between the columns or in the porch roof centered between the columns?
In the porch roof,
Yeah.
centered between the columns.
Yeah. No, that sounds correct.
That's the way I interpret
Yeah,
it.
so you're not talking actually out in line with the
No.
columns. Okay, I was misunderstanding.
There's a drawing, I think there's a rendering that
There was something that showed your light fixture.
Yeah, no, that would be
The
appropriate.
light fixture is not, I like the light, from a
And
design
even-
perspective, I like the light fixture.
If
that
it's
you
even,
chose.
if it,
That's a nice,
yeah, that would be okay, I think, if it were hanging between the columns.
see where they've got it, it's on the porch. Just make sure it's not hanging too low.
But you would have 3 across
Yeah.
there.
we would have 3, yes,
Yeah.
that's right, yeah.
I don't find a problem with that. Just you can't hang, like Bill's point, you can't have it too low or it's gonna get damaged.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, let me
And look at
without
the,
without belaboring the point, that is more of a type of unit that you would want to encounter nominally at eye level or slightly above, but as a sconce, as a mounted on the wall. You get a unit like that, and it's out of your cone of vision except from back at the street.
that's probably.
If is at a height that would give you the effect from the street, it's probably gonna be too low to walk under.
Yeah, it looks like
Yeah.
a fairly tall fixture. Check
Yeah,
it before you do
and,
that.
and if you put it up very close to the porch ceiling, you're not gonna get the effect that you want.
Yeah, sure.
So, just a thought.
These are suggestions, because generally we
That-
don't
just a
regulate
thought.
your light fixtures or anything.
Okay. Thank you. We'll
I just
definitely take that
wanted
into-
to, if it was gonna be mounted on the column, I might have an issue with that. That was the only
But
place.
you're on the right path.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, guys.
Should we make but are we gonna request in the motion that they do actual cedar or pine shingles? Because I would have.
That was my suggestion. That's, depends on what the rest of you think.
Eric, can you go with that?
I'm fine with that.
Is there a reason why we're changing? I mean, from the picture, at least it looks like it's just wood, right? Going
It
straight
is
across
wood
right now.
siding now, yes.
Why not leave it? That window is so beautiful. The windows are pretty. You know, why? I'm just curious why the change from what it already is, because I feel like it already is. I'm just curious why change it. I mean,
I
it
assume
seems-
they're wanting to draw more attention to it as an architectural feature, because it is a commercial building now.
Yeah, it's just so nice. I don't know. I think the windows themselves are really, I don't know.
Well, it doesn't detract from the windows, and it's period appropriate
Yeah, I
enhancement.
think you see a lot of houses with the gable like that, with the shape.
Yeah, I mean, but that's even, I mean, I think too, maybe just talking about lighting and just a suggestion like that to call attention to it. Like you could almost light the windows even at night from the inside, just to kind of always have that building sort of lit. But I'd like to agree too. I think just from looking at the scale, I think those light fixtures dropping down are going to be, yeah, I think they just look like they're going to be really low. And I'm sure like this rendering that I'm looking at, that's showing more of a Romanesque type column. That's just, it's good. The columns are going to stay the same, correct?
Yes, of
Yeah,
course.
they are, still battered.
Yeah, we're not touching those columns.
Yeah, I don't know. The lighting too, I mean, just a suggestion as well. I just think a lighting's sort of more of a craftsman, or even like a flush mounted, something more typical. Those just seem a little fancy for a craftsman or something. I just think something a little simpler and then maybe that you wouldn't hit your hat on.
Okay.
But yeah, I'd like to make the suggestion there too, that either the siding sort of around the gable window sort of stays the same, or that it be a true shake versus the shingle.
I'd like to make a motion.
Go for a motion.
Okay,
Mr. Chairman?
Yeah, we gotta get public comment, yes. Yes, Mr. Simmons.
Yes, that's what I was gonna
Okay.
point out. Did you have public
Thank you,
comment?
Thank you. Do we have anybody?
I do believe that Mr. Thomas Hawkins does want to speak on this issue. Mr. Hawkins, are you out there?
I'm here for the next item. Thanks.
Okay, great. Thank you, sir.
Next item. Thanks.
Next item.
Excellent. Just wanted to check in with you. Mr. Chair, that's the only caller that we have on the line at this time. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you. Bill?
move to approve HP 21-14 with staff recommendations and including approval to change the horizontal board siding of the gable, rather the dormer, to a wood shingle.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
It was Elizabeth Hausauer.
Thank you.
So you heard that, Jay, that it's a wood shingle, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so roll call vote. Elizabeth Hawk,
Aye.
Nicole Nesberg,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hausauer,
Aye.
Danielle Massey,
Aye.
Michelle Hazen,
Aye.
Bill Warner,
Aye.
Jay Reeves.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Thank you, guys.
Good luck.
Appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Simmons, next item up.
Okay, register item 200896, petition HP-21-15, Ricardo Cavallino and Associates Incorporated, agent for Martine Lowe, owner, certificate of appropriateness to construct a single-family dwelling located at 622 Northwest First Street. This building will be a non-contributing structure to the Pleasant Street Historic District. In just a moment is okay, you can see that.
Yes.
Okay, petition HP-21-15 is a request for a COA for the new construction of a single-family dwelling at 622 Northwest First Street. This project involves the construction of a single-family dwelling, and it's located just south of a recently approved new construction COA at 626 Northwest First Street, which was COA HP-20-111. The proposed structure is approximately 2,008 square feet of conditioned space, and the house will be a non-contributing structure in the Pleasant Street Historic District. You see the location of the property highlighted in yellow. The zoning for this property is RC, and it's approximately 0.110 acres in land area. You see the property location, the sort of the old view here on the left, and here on the right with the notification sign. Some of the property has already been cleared. And these are just some of the nearby views around the property. You see up on the right-hand corner up here, the contributing structure located just to the south of the subject property. And the view here on the left-hand corner, is a view looking north up Northwest First Street. And then in the right-hand bottom corner, you see what's approximately across the street on the east side of Northwest First Street. So here's a site plan showing the proposed structure. And what's proposed is a 4-bedroom, 4.5 bath structure the heated and cooled area of approximately 2,008 square feet. Now, these lots in this area are 100 feet deep. The porch is shown at 10 feet from the front property line. The south side setback is shown at 10 feet, where 5 feet is required. And the north side setback, they're showing 17 feet, where 5 feet is required. For the back, they're showing 47 feet 7 inches from the property line, which meets the 20-foot rear setback for the RC zoning district. So the house will feature a 16-inch raised finished floor foundation, 16 inches from the existing adjacent grade elevation, 8-inch horizontal cementitious siding with an accent cementitious shake and matching vertical and horizontal trim material of a different width. The front porch will be cement. The proposed windows are gel-to-win single hung white vinyl windows with 3/1 mullion arrangements. The proposed exterior doors will be gel-to-win painted fiberglass doors with a stamped rectangular design in a pastel color, while the proposed roof for the house, including the porch, will be a metal 5V crimp style in Galvalume, manufactured by Tri-County Metals. You see on the left-hand side is the proposed south elevation. You've got the front porch here on the right. And here you have the proposed north elevation. And then here you have the east elevation on the left and the west elevation on the right. The proposed height of the structure is approximately 35 feet 10 inches. And here are the floor plans for the 3 floors. You've got basically 4 bedrooms. Each bedroom has its own bathroom. And on the first floor, you have a half bath with the laundry, the kitchen, and dining room areas. So with that, staff recommends approval of HP 21-15 with the following conditions. Again, the utilization of the simulated divided lights grill for the grill pattern or actual divided light grills for the chosen window. Information sheets for the proposed windows, doors, and roofing material, and notification to staff of any changes during construction. I believe the agent for the applicant is there in person, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Simmons. Mr. Cavallino.
Hi, let me take this, otherwise it will be very difficult to understand me. Mr. Chairman, member of the board, good evening. My name is Ricardo Cavallino. I'm a registered architect, and I will be happy to answer any question that you may have regarding this project.
Okay. Comments on the board?
Can we bring up the contextual photos?
Yeah, Mr. Simmons, can you bring up the photos up and down the street?
I guess my first question would be, if the lot is 100 feet deep and you've got 41 feet, you've got quite a nice distance to the back lot line. What was the thinking behind making it a 3-story house, which doesn't really jibe with the neighborhood?
A number of reasons. cost is one of them. This lot is very small and narrow and will allow for an accessory structure if needed in the future. Otherwise, the setback will just not allow for that. So something important also, this is on the edge of the historic district, and across the street, it's a kind of, you can see that bottom right picture, it's a kind of commercial area, a number of empty lots on the area, so there is not much to go by. And as the staff indicated, there are other structures on the area that they are having 2 stories and large, much larger than these houses.
Yeah.
In addition to that, the church that is right behind this, and I don't know if there is a picture on it, maybe, Mr. Simmons, can you show the picture that you have the sign on site? I think that picture shows right on the upper right corner, you can see the Mount Pleasant United Methodist Church. That's about a 4-story high on the tower, and the adjacent roof about 3 or more stories. So, as I said, it was a number of reasons that contributed to the design that we.
Because the house we approved at 626 is a single story.
Yeah.
We are complying with the guidelines that has a 3-story and a maximum height. We are below that, and
That's planning guidelines, so.
Yeah, I have to say that I have a complete, I just don't feel that,
I don't believe there's.
and nothing personal, I don't feel it fits with the neighborhood at all.
well, something important is that this particular historic neighborhood has a guideline that is a little different than other areas. I done through the years work pretty much in all the district. If you look in University Heights or perhaps the Duck Pond, they specifically aim to the height of the new structure, 1.5 the adjacent historic structure is the maximum that you can go. In here, they don't do that, and I believe for a particular reason. They perhaps the writers of the code at the time that they did it, they view the possibility to, in this area, closer to downtown, perhaps to have the allowance of the higher structures, you know. And recently they are doing that, as the staff indicated, in several of the several areas around this district.
Yeah.
Can you think of any other 3-story residential structures?
I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Can you think of any other 3-story residential structures in that historic district?
Any other street?
Any other 3-story residential structures?
Well, right behind here, actually, that picture, Mr. Simmons, I emailed you some pictures. Is it possible to show one, if you have it? I don't know, because I did it kind of late today. But right behind that structure there, behind the yellow sign on the back, there are 2 very large 2-story, structures there, yellow tile, right behind those palm trees.
But they're 2 stories.
They are 2 stories.
2 stories, and single story is the most common in the neighborhood.
Yes, I agree. But one thing that I want to point here is that I think the whole the guidelines kind of consider that situation, and they give the liberty to the designer to go that extreme, to go the 3-story. You can go 4-story. They are not telling you don't do it, and they are not telling you stay within a certain distance.
Okay.
That's the way that the code reads.
You're talking about planning and zoning guidelines, completely different from historic neighborhood guidelines.
Mm.
And having been somebody that some 15 years ago, whenever it was, participated in writing the guidelines and adapting them for the different districts, The one thing we were not trying to do is encourage tall buildings in Pleasant Street. I can tell you that for a fact.
I have to agree with that, yes. I understand this.
We were trying to encourage compatibility, okay? And that's the biggest problem is the scale. I have a big issue with that.
I'll comment that would, looks like something that fit right into University Heights.
Correct.
But
different neighborhood.
Is totally out of character with Pleasant Street.
All what I can say is that I try to go by the guidelines of the code.
Well, you have to go by the
And,
guidelines, but you also have to look at the neighborhood.
But here is almost no neighborhood. I mean, across the street, you have a metal building. You have a vacant structure. You have an edge of a neighborhood that is really
Yes, you're near the edge. I
encouraging
understand
that, you know, I mean, it's a lot of, if we will be in the center of the neighborhood, I will go, we agree with, but in the edge in here, it's a.
But you were next to the commercial district also, that backs up to Main Street. However, those are all one-story buildings as well.
Mhm.
Okay. Okay, well, that's just the comments you've heard so far.
Sure.
Do any of y'all have any comments, or?
I was just looking at Google Maps to look at the neighborhood that you're talking about, and the three right next to it, all single story. Just putting a 3-story building in the spot in the middle of this makes no sense when you have a bigger lot. And I can see where you want to save room maybe for an accessory, but I think at this point you want to flatten it, and I think we could discuss a 2-story, but the 3 is just, there's no way, even with the surrounding office, nothing that height.
Yeah.
It's across the street there.
I
What
went
is
on
that?
Google as well, and I was looking, and it's either 1-story houses, commercial, or vacant lots. And to me, it seems a little strange to have a brand new 3-story house just kind of sprouting up on the edge of this neighborhood that's so narrow, and it just seems like the house could fit the property a little bit better and still leave room.
All right, what this is doing is introducing a whole new building type into the neighborhood, and
Yeah.
that is a 3-story shotgun.
Yeah.
That is a whole new type.
Well, if I can comment, what was the height on the building again?
35 feet?
Those are the
35.
behind that I was just pointing earlier. This is a property, the store there in there. Those are the houses behind.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see the height of that, the size of that building there, those 2 buildings. I mean,
2-story.
but the volume is much larger.
Yeah, they're wider.
That-
They're wider.
Those
They're
buildings
bigger.
there have a proportion and a large volume that is, it's not a historic building, that I can tell you that from here, just by looking at it.
That's more the scale of a lot of the bigger 2-story houses that were more on the south end of the neighborhood that were not really in the district. Yeah.
The only thing that I need to say is that I follow the guidelines. If we want to enforce something that is not comparable to next door, we should have on the guideline the language that they give you the tool, like in other areas, in other historic neighborhoods, like University Heights, like I mentioned before. In here, it doesn't tell you that. In fact, I believe that's behind actually, and I'm sorry, that the building behind, and that's the church in the other street.
You've got 1-story buildings, and you have a church, which is a very tall Victorian church.
But again,
If you guys, if I may interject, I mean, so one of the things that the new form-based code mandated is that in any historic district, so the 3rd floor is allowed, it's up to 36, it's up to 36, and you
Yes,
can have a
36
three-story in
feet,
this
yes.
district, but the third in the historic districts, the third floor is supposed to be above the roof line.
No, that's not
So
correct.
Within the roof
That-
line.
That's not correct.
within it, right? And I mean, in this one, we're beneath the roof line, correct?
Right, right.
So I mean, so it's not really meeting the guidelines, is that
what-
correct? I mean, that's
I-
for the neighbor.
I think I read the code, the intent of the code a little differently. If I'm wrong, I would like to clarify it. I believe it says a maximum of 36 feet and doesn't mention anything about the roof line. I'm familiar with the roof line because I have done work on the university height with the half,
I'm just-
floor.
I'm in the code now, and it's Article 4 zoning, and it specifically says within 100 feet of the following districts, the historic district maximum building height, 3 stories, 36 feet, measured to the roof peak with a hip gable, mansard, or similar roof where the third floor is above the roof line, or measured to the top plate of the third floor with a flat or similar roof.
So you're not meeting it. Well, irregardless, irregardless.
Mr. Simmons, can you clarify that, just for the purpose of have a clear what's the stuff and the way that the intent of the code is?
I can speak to that because I was at many more form-based code meetings than, a couple of years of them. And certainly that was very much the intent because there was many discussions about it. Really wanting to be careful because of the scale of a neighborhood like Pleasant Street, where we're primarily single family homes. Here and there, we have some 2 stories, but the intent of that language was really to protect the district. That was very much the intention of that. If we're going to see, sort of that third story put in, it really does need to be within the roof line. So we're not creating massing. And that's the problem in general with this overall plan is that it is nowhere the scale, the massing of the building, there's just no breaks. It just doesn't at all seem to meld. And the intention, and that's why we spoke specifically, I think there's some allowances to go higher, but I think, building that in so it doesn't appear out of joint. So, I mean, that's why it's there.
Mr. Simmons?
Mr. Chairman, that section in Article 4 in zoning, there's a section under development compatibility called building height and massing.
Correct.
So it says within the following districts, and under that it says Pleasant Street Historic District. And the max building height listed is 3 stories and 36 feet. What was read before was talking about if you're within 100 feet of the following districts, like a single-family zoning, the urban 1 district, or a historic district, except for University Heights South. But the table indicates that within the following districts, including the Pleasant Street district, the maximum building height is 3 stories and 36 feet.
36 feet to the peak of the roof or 36 feet to the top plate?
That it doesn't say.
Well, this is just as a clarification, this is to the 35 something to the peak, yes, to the ridge.
Well,
yeah,
we will need.
We're very careful to design it in that way.
Well, that doesn't address the issue of compatibility and scale within the neighborhood.
The rhythm of that street.
But it's
And
an
that has
issue,
nothing to
but
do with
Mr.
zoning.
Chairman, it's an issue that the code is not.
The historic guidelines are what this board has to evaluate and make our decisions on.
With all your respect, I think we need to make provisions to change that language on the code if we are going to go in this direction, because otherwise tomorrow somebody else will come with the same situation with the idea that is meeting the code, that is meeting the guidelines, and then we find out that the idea of some different professionals, different people don't see that in that way. But that's the reason that we have a code, I believe, to try to follow it.
Okay, I think we're done discussing and arguing this. this. I think we need to take public comment. I think the board needs to give a determination on this, and then you need to do what you need to do from there.
Understand.
Okay. All right, is there any public comment in regards to this issue?
Let me check in again with Mr. Thomas Hawkins. Mr. Hawkins, is this the issue you wanted to speak to?
It is, and I am here this time. Can y'all hear me?
Yep, we're listening.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Great. I'm glad Mr. Cavallino mentioned the Methodist Church. I'm standing on my front porch right now, and I can see both the subject property that we're discussing and the Methodist Church from where I'm standing. And you know, the Methodist Church is a really great civic building. It's on a very large lot. It's got not unique architecture for a church, but certainly unique architecture for the neighborhood. I kind of think that saying you can compare a home's height to the height of that building, you like said you should be able to build a skyscraper in downtown Washington, D.C. because the Washington Monument is so tall. Right? It's a very, very different kind of structure, and the precedent set by one doesn't necessarily apply to another. The standards y'all use definitely call for looking at compatible building massing, looking at the rhythm of building widths and heights, and how those proportions relate to the surrounding structures. I did attach which board member said it, but I would absolutely agree that the proportions of the proposed structure are totally inconsistent with what's proposed, what currently exists on West First Street. So I would encourage you to either continue the item so it can be completely rethought up from scratch, or to deny the petition. Before I wanted to tell a really quick story. When my wife and I proposed our house, that was when Cleary Larkin was in Jason Simmons' position. And one of the things that Cleary walked us through was reducing the height of our home by a few feet. We shortened the second story, and we changed the pitch of the roof, and we lowered the roof as it sits on the house to take space out of the attic, exactly to make its proportions and its height fit better in the neighborhood. And it took some time working with our contractor to do those things, but I think that we got a better result, and the neighborhood got a better result because of those efforts. And so, I guess I tell that story to say that precedents do get set, and that's one precedent with which I'm familiar, and I hope you continue to work with this applicant in this instance to continue that precedent and get something that fits the surroundings of the neighborhood well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hawkins.
I'd also like to add, Mr. Hawkins, that you seriously think about joining the board.
Mr. Chair, that is the last caller on this issue. The floor is
Mr. Chairman, may I, seeing the situation in here, and I would like to ask for a continuation, if possible. We will explore the options and consult with the staff, and the owner would like to see if we had opportunity to consider the situation in which we are, and if we can continue. Is that possible?
Okay. We'll see if the board agrees. Okay. Would somebody like to make a motion?
Move to continue HP 21-15.
Okay.
Who was
I was just.
who was the seconder?
I was.
You haven't seconded? Sorry.
Yes.
Jump the gun. Would it be beneficial to them if we did a straw poll? Because I feel strongly that this plan.
Well, we don't need.
I think they can see
I mean,
it.
because I don't want to see this plan come back with, one small change.
Well, it'll be a waste of everybody's time.
Right.
So it's not going to come back.
I mean, perhaps we could make some suggestions, like if they really want a 3-story building, like we said, just sort of, the massing, the scale, bringing that down, and perhaps thinking of building that 3-story within the roof line or something to that effect. I don't know, it's still going to be really tall, but because it is in Pleasant Street.
Yeah, I just don't know how we want to handle.
Well, we can either deny it or we can continue it.
I feel that we should vote and deny. I would deny this plan, period.
Well, I kind of think that's where we're going. That's why
But
we're
by
gonna continue.
continuing it,
Well-
we could get the same plan back again.
Then
Well,
they would have the same result, more than likely.
well,
Excuse
bring
me,
the same claim back,
excuse me, just a
it's denied.
comment, Mr. Chairman.
But we're in the middle of
We
discussing.
asking for the continuation, not to bring the same
Plan.
type of project.
Okay.
I mean, obviously, we
No, I
would like to
understand.
explore the options and see what can be done design-wise to try to
Yeah.
accommodate more of what.
No, I
The
think they
intent
get it.
is-
They get it. Yeah.
Okay.
We're just trying to clarify it for everybody. Does everybody understand? Okay.
So we're gonna vote to continue or deny?
This is unacceptable to all of the board. We're in agreement there, but instead of just flat denying it, we're gonna give them an option to come back to us
Correct.
with a new plan.
A
Right,
new
'cause
plan.
same COA, but new.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay, there's a motion.
so he doesn't have to reapply for another COA, that's the big thing.
That's the,
Got
yeah,
it. Okay.
their fees already paid.
Okay.
So Bill has put the motion forward. You have seconded. Elizabeth?
I will second, or
Yeah,
somebody.
or somebody, yeah, Elizabeth Hassauer, I guess. Mr. Simmons, roll call.
Okay, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Bill Warner,
Aye.
Michelle Hazen,
Aye.
Danielle Massey, Danielle Massey,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hausauer,
Aye.
Nicole Nesberg,
Aye.
Elizabeth Hawk,
Aye.
Jay Reeves.
Aye.
Motion to continue passes.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ricardo.
Thank you.
Can I ask the board a question on this?
Sure.
Can we have some discussion on this? This 3-story, it's interesting because it is true, in Article 4, it's interesting because within 100 feet of the district, the limitations are more stringent than they are within the district. And I'm not sure why that would be. Does anyone else? I just remember those meetings and I remember talking about this before, and I'm just surprised to see that within 100 feet of the district, if you're outside of the district, you have to meet those guidelines, but not within the district. Does anyone have any clarification on that? 'Cause I'm
But maybe
just-
we're not reading that right, maybe we need clarification.
Well, those guidelines you're referring to came later after the historic districts were already in place. Historic districts, we normally look at the surrounding structures in that part of the neighborhood and what is the consistent theme as far as heights. Because where all this really got to be contentious is back when University Heights, particularly the district across from campus, we were getting a lot of high-rise structures coming in there, and that's where the height situation really got to be super sensitive. And so that was addressed when they got into form-based code. But that doesn't mean that the individual historic districts police height based on what is the theme and the common height, particularly in that area of the neighborhood.
So considering that we don't have any 3-story buildings in the district,
Not like
I mean,
we've
does
seen
that,
too many-
I know Jason read that Pleasant Street can go up to 3 stories. So does that mean that we foresee, because there are no 3 stories, limiting it to under 3 stories? Or do we see a potential that 3 stories if there's placed next to a 2-story building, for instance, would those then be more appropriate for the neighborhood?
I would never vote for a 3-story building in the neighborhood.
I was gonna say, the historic board guidelines have been around much longer than the planning guidelines that have been applied to the neighborhood. And so I would say it really boils down to what the historic board interprets as being the most compatible and sensitive. Compatible being the big issue, compatible in scale. And that's the way we've always regulated the historic districts. But yeah, you've got some contradictions, it sounds like, in planning right now. That are
Right.
being applied to these neighborhoods, so it needs some clarification. But I think you can see the intent when they addressed the 100-foot, towards a historic district. And I'm sure they were thinking taller projects primarily when they did that.
Right. I mean, well, I was a part of that. We actually rode, plan board, we rode around and like said, okay, what would feel too high? And it's sort of your sight line when you're walking, that's why that was sort of put in place. But it's interesting that the district is actually more lenient according to the code here, when you're looking at it, it's actually more lenient within the district. But like you said, we have, but I just wouldn't want to see too many of these come in front of us and people to say exactly what he said. Well, that's meeting the guidelines.
We start allowing them, that's what's going to happen. The situation is, how many 3-story buildings are in there? You have churches, that's probably about it. There aren't too many other structures that tall.
And those aren't really 3-story. They just have really tall roof lines.
Correct.
Correct. I mean, that's a.
And they also don't meet zoning guidelines either, so that.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, I would point out that even within our most restrictive residential single-family districts, like residential single-family 1, 3 stories is the maximum height.
Yes.
I mean, I think almost every residential district, you can go at least 3 stories outside of, maybe something in the guidelines, like Mr. Cavallino mentioned in the University Heights, there is that step back language about heights next to a contributing structure can only be like, 1.5 stories taller or something like that. But, 3 stories is the standard maximum building height in residential districts, even in our most restrictive single-family districts.
Yeah, but it still boils down in a historic district as to what's compatible.
So the step back that you just mentioned, Jason, I mean, so is that a mandate just in University Heights, or is that something very specific to University Heights, or is that something that is for all historic districts?
It's not for all the districts. It's
probably for university.
Or it's for University Heights North and South.
Mm-hmm.
Those specific.
That because they can go up to 4 stories, and so they have the step back there?
It's also because that's a redevelopment district, or was at the time.
Right, and I think the zoning does allow in certain instances going up higher than 3 stories. The design guidelines for new construction for the Duck Pond, the Southeast, and for Pleasant Street are all the same, in that they don't have that step back feature. But these are probably more likely to be single family zoned or single family type residential properties.
Well, this is where we're gonna get in trouble with the ADUs, because people are gonna wanna build taller so they can jam more onto the lot.
They're not compatible with the main
It's not
structure.
compatible. I totally agree with you. I totally agree. I mean, I think we're going around and around and around in circles here.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Simmons, can we move on to the next one?
That's it.
That's it. Okay. Let me turn the page then. All right, request to address the board. Do we have anybody?
Quickly.
Okay, seeing none. Information items, we already heard that. Mr. Simmons, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Chairman, not at this time.
Okay, no public comment that I see.
No, sir.
No problem.
No, sir.
All right. In that case, we are adjourned.